I there it is.
I put up a post from CNBC about this big trade deal they did all over there with the Chinese running the show and 14 countries. We're not. Everybody's saying, "Oh, this is we're fucked" and all that. Trump has put us behind the eight ball, and I've come in. I have to be the voice of reason on my Facebook. I said, "Wait a minute, Trump got the Big Ten and the Pac-12 to play again. What about that?" Okay. See,
how's that work? How's that working out?
Yeah. See, he I'm feeling the grievance every minute more and more.
It's coursing through your veins. Is that what it's doing?
He can't get credit for anything.
He literally spent like all day Sunday, like from 7 a.m. till like way, way late at night, just bitching and whining and moaning and pissing and just
I know
all day.
I know. We get the news over here.
I know. Well, I know, but you don't get on the Twitter that much because we gave you 2 Twitter accounts and you blew them both.
I know. I can use mine.
You can. Yeah. You just look at it. You don't post on it.
I post about once every 3 months.
Jesus, I never see anything on your account.
But you know what? I'm more of a parlor guy.
It's parlay. It's parlay.
No, it's parlor.
It's parlay. It's a French term. It means to talk.
No, But the right wingers hate the French. Why would they name something?
Because they're stupid. Because they're dumb as fuck. So do you have it? Have you shared it yet?
I don't know. Let me look.
Share your thingy with it. Try again.
I guess not yet. I guess I keep hoping I can just do the one click, but it's not a one click thing.
It's never a one. Boom, 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 boom.
There we go. We're going to have some cold weather coming in here later this week, aren't we?
Let me tell you what, there's a Calgary Clipper. Did you share it?
Let me look.
Sharing is caring.
Yeah, we're good.
All right. Ready when you are.
Okay. It's the Brad and Britt cast. It is our first edition this week. You know, sometimes every once in a while, somebody actually does say something so painfully obvious you can't believe you didn't think of it, even if it is obvious. It fit. Somebody wrote that the Trump should just listen to Kenny Rogers. You got to know when to hold him. You got to know when to fold him. You got to know when to walk away. I mean, what more do you need to say? Right?
Oh, is that what made you think of Kenny Rogers? Because you said first edition? It's the first edition of our show for this week?
No.
Well, see, but it all worked out nicely, wasn't it?
Well, it did. That was a seamless ball of unintentional connection.
Serendipity.
But I think that kind of sums it up. You know, there was a story on the front of our local paper, the Greensboro paper. This is like the saddest story. This person who is one of the people in charge of counting the votes in Brunswick County or something.
Yeah.
Her mother filled out an absentee ballot. She had cancer.
Mhm.
She filled out the absentee ballot, sent it in, and died before the election.
What's the rule?
And the rule is, this is unbelievable. Okay, if you're dead on election day, they can throw out your ballot. And she was the person in charge of counting the ballots. So she had to throw out her own mother's ballot.
That is very sad.
And it's sad.
On top of everything else.
And I'm thinking, wait a second.
That's kind
Wait
of
a
dumb.
second. Well, but this was just kind of accidental that this coincidence came up.
Yeah.
And are you trying to tell me, and I assume that's probably the rule most places.
I've heard that's what
everywhere.
I think I heard this in maybe Pennsylvania and Michigan too. So I think a lot of the states do the same thing.
Right. But they only know this because she knows who her mother is.
Right.
Do you think that they match up the death lists over the last 6 weeks, 8 weeks with the voting list everywhere and throw out those votes? Have you ever heard of that?
No,
of course not,
no,
because it doesn't happen.
Well,
that would be thinking.
If you hated your person's politics, whoever it was that died, and you were like, you knew they were voting for Trump, and you're a Biden supporter, would you immediately go, no, at 11:59 on Monday night before the election, they died?
Well, wait, but
that's what the death certificate says,
right? But isn't this the perfect kind of Trump, Rudy Giuliani thing to say that the entire we got a couple of dead people.
How many? No, but in Rudolph Giuliani world, that's going to be hundreds of thousands of people, right? Maybe millions.
Exactly.
There may be millions of people who cast a ballot and then died before November the 3rd. Yeah, you're right. No, that would be the.
Yeah,
that's
it was just kind of a sad story there.
It is. It's a very sad story for sure.
Right.
Baby Huey spent the entire day on Sunday bitching, whining, moaning, kvetching, and doing everything else on the Twitter machine. Every possible grievance in the history of mankind going forward, crying his eyes out, saying the greatest tweet, of course, was "I won the election!" ! Which was being mocked roundly. The kids called it being dragged, which is what he was all day long, Brad.
Oh, I'm sorry, but you left off the fact that it was all capital letters.
It was all caps. That's correct, which means that it's got to be true. I mean, I was not convinced until I saw the all caps and the exclamation point.
You're not allowed to put something in capital letters if it isn't true. You understand that rule. That's right up there. If you're dead before they count the absentee ballot, your vote doesn't count. I
was awake like 7 or 7:30 or whatever whenever he started the shitstorm, and I literally tweeted on the Brad and Britt account, which is at Brad and Britt.
This is Sunday morning.
I went, oh, we're starting the bitch session early this morning, are we? And it continued throughout the entire day for well over 12 hours.
Whoa. 7:30 is early
for him. But he doesn't Brad, he doesn't do anything. He sits on his fat ass, doesn't do anything, and fucking eats 5,000 calories a day. I can't believe he can roust himself at 7:30.
Wait. He's got a zillion tweets from 2-3 in the morning. Does that count as staying up the night before?
Yes, that's why you would have to stay up, sleep until noon. Because I got news for you. This is also news. He's not going into the office and doing a lot of work at 7 in the morning. He's not like, ooh, I have things to read at 6:30. By the way, other presidents did that. Barack Obama or Bill Clinton or even I think George W. Bush, they're going to wake up early in the morning. I got this briefing thing I got to read. I got to read this paper. I got a very, very early meeting. He ain't doing that. The only reason he would ever wake up early is to go eat more, to shove some more calories into his mouth.
Now, I haven't looked at the Twitter today, but the minute I heard early this morning that we have a second very effective vaccine about ready to be rolled out to the people, did Trump jump in there and attack this company, Moderna, for also not announcing this before the election to make him look bad? Because remember, the vaccine is all about him. It's not about you. It's not about me. It's not about the American people.
He went the other direction and claimed credit for the actual vaccine, Brad. This is from 4 hours ago. Another vaccine was announced, this time by Moderna, 90% effective. For those great, in quotations, historians, please remember that these great discoveries, which will end the China plague, all took place on my watch! ! They all took place on his watch, Brad.
Well, to be fair, I remember that in Franklin Roosevelt's diary, he wrote, in March of 1942. Attention historians. Remember, I said the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Right.
Don't forget that I said that, because Trump is just following in a long line of credit hogs who have been president.
FDR was a credit hog now. Is that correct?
And you know that John F. Kennedy, he wanted to make sure that we all remembered, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. He didn't want that credited to Nixon, his opponent in the 1960 election, because that could have happened if he had not written his little pamphlet, My Profile in Courage, It's All About Me, by John F. Kennedy.
Look how awesome I am. That was
that is the funniest one. That's funnier than my supposition that he would just trash the company for alleged. But no, that he
zagged. He zagged when you zig, brother. That's what he does. That's what he always does. There was another
great one.
Oh, this is an all caps one too. Stock market getting very close to 30,000 on new vaccine news. 95% effective! Exclamation point. All caps. That's what he's doing. That's what the guy is doing.
I believe it. I believe that.
And by the way, I would just caution everybody, because I hate to inject facts into this. See what I did? I'd hate to inject facts in this with Moderna and also with the Pfizer one. These are early, and they said it. The company said it. These are early results. These are early testing results. Don't go crazy about them. We're very excited about them, and they are good news, but we have a long way to go. Both the companies have said that, but of course, he's like, it's over. I fixed it, and the election was stolen.
Well, it's not just that, and you're 100% right about that. But now we have to keep beating into people's heads. And remember, we already have this huge swath of Republicans and Trump people and deniers and people who think that wearing a mask is an infringement on your freedom equivalent to slavery and all that thing. Now we have to get people who have already been letting up, who already have coronavirus fatigue, all the things that we know are actually real and somewhat understandable, to not use the announcement of these two vaccines the last 2 weeks, Moderna and Pfizer, to say, oh, okay, well, I'm going to have a vaccine probably in 3 or 4 months. I'm going to get vaccinated, and so now I don't have to wear a mask. I want you to think how stupid that is. I'm sorry to be this judgmental of everyone.
No, it's stupid. You're right.
But
don't worry.
This is like saying, well, I don't know, since I can now cross the street all the time and never look both ways anymore, because 4 months from now I'm going to be rich.
Yeah.
But, so my chances of getting run down by a car now are a lot less, because I'm going to get rich in form. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, there's not one thing different today than there was 2 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago or 4 months ago.
No, it's much worse. Yes, but the facts have remained exactly the same.
And the news of the vaccine, and we're all anxious to get back to whatever passes for normalcy, but I assume, unless it's otherwise, that we have an official war on Thanksgiving, and that war has been now officially declared by Dr. Fauci and all the
Scott Atlas and all those. Scott Atlas is going to be the warrior crusading against it and freeing America.
Right. And
I guess what we're going to see on social media is massive gatherings with people within 5 inches of each other, with selfies of huge 10, 12, 15, 20 person gatherings. And that owns the libs, right? Is that what we're going to see?
Do you have any doubt?
No, that's going to happen. And you just reminded me of it. It's going to be sick. It's going to be on Instagram. It's going to be on Facebook. It's going to be on Twitter. And then people they're going to tweet Jack Dorsey and go, why are you allowing this? You're allowing bad behavior to be shown all over the place. And then they'll put a little warning on the Twitter thing saying, this is bad. And these are stupid people who are trying to infect each other and kill each other. I don't know, because they're putting all the warnings on Trump's tweets now. They should probably do that on Twitter when they show huge gatherings at Thanksgiving of people. This is not smart, and these people are risking their lives. I don't know. You're right. I think that's exactly the war on Thanksgiving has begun, and it's Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and the worst, most awful AOC. AOC is trying to kill your Thanksgiving.
And all the doctors,
every doctor,
every doctor in America, every
exactly
infectious disease expert in America, none of them celebrate Thanksgiving. Most of them are socialist, commie people who hate the Pilgrims. I don't know.
And then, by the way, if he's really going to promote this One America News Network, which he is on his Twitter feed again today, we'll get to that in just a second. The One America News Network, if they want to be the new Fox, because Fox has gone to the left, Brad, they hate America now. One America News Network should somehow get giant buildings and try to stuff as many people in there as possible and feed them turkey and stuffing and all the other stuff, cranberry sauce and all that stuff, and that will own the libs. If they can have a giant super spreader Thanksgiving party at some warehouse somewhere to show that America is the biggest, greatest, and most incredible thing in the history of ever, they should do that. It should be One America News Network branded. That's how they should launch what is eventually going to become the Trump News Network anyway, right?
Yeah. Now, we've had various iterations of Thanksgiving since our kids grew up and moved away. One's in Asheville, one's in Chicago. Sometimes they're both here. Sometimes one can be here. This year, none of them will be here for obvious reasons, because we're overeducated coastal liberals,
right? And you just don't want to kill you don't want to kill the children that you raise so lovingly. That's one of those things.
They our children don't want to kill us.
They don't want to kill you. Although I understand there is some good insurance money to be made, so they might want to rethink that entire thing. I don't know.
All right, well, we'll cut this out of the final. But you know, we agreed to it, at least with one of the kids yesterday. I said, well, here's what we'll do. We'll whenever you're having your Thanksgiving meal, just Zoom us and we'll chat and goof around for a few minutes. We're not going to try to coordinate the meal with three different places.
We're going to cut the turkey at 11:58 Central Time, which
that's too difficult. But,
ridiculous.
You know, that's kind of the best that I think we can do right now under tough circumstances. And I said, you know what? It's just going to make that first meal that we have together that much better whenever it happens, whether it's 3 months from now, 6 months from now. It might not be for you. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? That being said, you may have seen this, that Zoom has suspended their 40-minute limit on calls Thanksgiving Day. You can stay on forever. Wow. If you don't have an account, they cut you off after 40 minutes, yeah. Which now I never understood why that was a thing, because then you just make the call over again. Someone else makes the call.
Yeah.
Why was that ever such a big deal?
It's just a pain in the ass that they try to do to get you to pay, I guess. I don't know.
But anyway, they are saying, it's like free HBO this weekend. It's one of those things, right?
Would it kill Zoom to make it like free for the rest of the year if they're trying to do some good PR? Jesus Christ! One day, okay, that's fine. That's a nice thing for them to do.
Boy, you know what that's called in Yiddish, Britt?
Yeah,
you're a schnorrer.
A schnorr. I've been a schnorrer for a number of years.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I am.
It's not good enough that they're doing something good. It's not good enough for you. They need to do more.
They actually need to do more because Donald Trump has created this Michigas that we're all into, and he's kind of mashugging it right now. I got to be honest with you. If I'm being completely, did I use those words correctly?
You're a putz.
I'm also a schmuck. I can't even say anything. He keeps touting these vaccines and stuff like, okay, it's going great. Tomorrow at 7-Eleven, you'll be able to just walk in and get a shot. I mean, that's what he's doing. And we're nowhere near being able to distribute this thing on a national basis. And I'm not just saying that because of anecdotal evidence. There are health officials in places all over America that say we don't have the infrastructure to get this to people if it were on the shelves today.
Right. I mean, this part of it's not a discussion.
Right.
You have to be completely out of your mind to think, when Apple has a new phone, it takes them a few months to get it everywhere.
And they're a great company, and they've done this many times.
And you don't have to keep an Apple phone at 90 degrees below zero.
No.
Okay, to ship it around. I mean, this is
where slowing down the transition is killing people. Because if Biden, this is where you do want a Joe Biden in charge because he's an actual adult. I mean, he's never done this as far, but he knows people who know people who would be experts at doing this, and he's not digging his heels in. He knows people who would be able to get this thing distributed. And the more that he digs in, Donald Trump, on the transition, the more it delays getting information to Biden's team so that they can hit the ground running and they can actually get the vaccine out to people on day one. And that's what's hurting America. And it's entertaining to see him stomp his feet and cry and bitch like a little girl. And I'm sorry to every little girl in the world, but to see him do this all day, but it's hurting people and it's hurting America and it's hurting our national security. Everybody's saying it. I didn't see him tweet specifically at Barack Obama on 60 Minutes. I figured he would do that because that had to piss him off more than anything else. Barack Obama actually talking to Donald Trump and saying, if you really do care about the country at all, it's time. You got to go bye-bye. And I just assume that he's going to bitch and moan and kvetch and cry and everything else when Barack Obama's book comes out tomorrow, right? I expected a massive tweet storm about that.
Apparently, this could be one of the largest selling nonfiction books.
Well,
or as Sean Hannity calls it, fiction. No, this could be one of the biggest prints of a book ever.
So now you set the die. You know what you just did. He's going all day. It's going to be about how The Art of the Deal sold more copies than Barack Obama's book. It's going to be something that he's going to.
He already got outsold by Mary Trump.
No,
Mary Trump outsold The Art of the Deal.
He's going to ask for all sorts of like recounts on the selling, and they're lying about the counts of the selling, and the retailers hate me, and they know that I sold more. That's going to be like his focus for the rest of the week when people are dropping like flies across. I saw something from Missouri. I don't know if you saw this. I think the public health officials, whatever they call Health and Human Services in Missouri, they may call it that. They said, look, if you test positive, it's up to you to contact all the people and do your own contact tracing because we're overwhelmed right now. We can't do it. You need to contact all the people that you've come into contact with in the last 10 days because we're swamped. We're basically screwed right now. This is the state of Missouri, which is not a small state. It has two really big cities in it. I don't know if you heard. It's amazing to me, and that should be sounding like giant, massive red alarms all over the place. But again, we have to bitch about all sorts of things and not being able to see signatures in Georgia, for example. That's the latest thing that they've grabbed onto. We can't see the matching signatures in Georgia.
They're all involved. By the way, I had a joke 2 minutes ago, but you wouldn't stop talking. Can I do it now?
Yeah, please do. I'm sorry. I'll set you up.
We go back to the Mary Trump versus Donald Trump book. So it turns out that about 10 people died in between the time that they bought the book and finished the book. So their sales don't count.
That's good. That's good.
That's all I had.
He's got a tweet with that tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
that's all I had. It wasn't that great.
The election challenges, as led by Rudolph Giuliani, and I ran into that stupid Eric Bowling program that they put on the Sinclair stations. Holy shit!
Can I ask you something?
Oh my God!
Why?
Because I felt like I needed to torture myself. Things have been going really well in my life, and I thought, well, here's 2 minutes of pain. It was.
They run that on ABC 45 or whatever.
They do.
The hell it is.
Okay, they do,
right.
and they may run it on there. They may run it on Channel 48 too. I don't know, but I was just flipping around, and they put it on Sunday night, and I was on a break or something, and I look, and there's this stupid thing, and there's Rudolph Giuliani. You would think in his life, with the awful things that Eric Bowling had in his life, losing a child to addiction, that there would be some sort of something that would come into his head. No, but it's made him 100 times worse.
Yes.
It's made him 100 million times worse. Yeah. And stupid Rudolph Giuliani continuing to lie. And I was just reading about, there's some law firm, I think it's Joe Bappa or something, that's doing these lawsuits in Pennsylvania and Michigan. They basically dropped all of the claims of any kind of voter fraud in the one in Pennsylvania, right? They basically dropped all of that.
Right. There's nothing left.
No, there's nothing.
There is nothing left.
Please show me somewhere where he's won any kind of a challenge in court to these elections.
It doesn't matter, and I think that when the history is written, that this period of Joe Biden doing the brush off the shoulder shtick with Trump will stand the test of time and be considered a model of how you behave under these circumstances, because you know that the one thing Trump wants, he wants to get into some kind of smackdown. And here's the funny part of it. Now he's in the position of having to try to elevate himself up to the level of the person who we know is going to be the president. He's already over the hill. He's yesterday's news. He doesn't like being yesterday's news. He wants to be the news in your head every 5 minutes. We know that. But he really is yesterday's news. They don't call it a lame duck for nothing. All right. And the one thing that Donald Trump has done, and we've both been fired a couple of times through our lives, and this really does make the case for the minute the gig is up, you get the person out of the building. Okay.
That's
because
true.
this 2 months, 2.5 months in
Right.
between the election and Inauguration Day is horrible for the country. And when you see that in Britain, when they have the election for prime minister there, man, the election's on a Tuesday, and damn it, by Thursday, the old prime minister's shit is out of 10 Downing Street, out on the street, and the cardboard box is filled with the knickknacks, and the new person is in there, and then they form their government, and off they go. So we don't do that here. And under normal circumstances, most adults have been able to manage that through the years, through the transitions. You've heard all the presidents who speak about this, or the chiefs of staff who've talked about what they've done in the last 20, 25 years. Everybody's handled it like adults. And Clinton to Bush was it's all worked out okay until now. And again, this is just another thing I think that needs to be reconsidered in the future, that this gap is just too long.
It is long.
It doesn't help.
And it used to be much longer. This is one way shortened down. It used to be like March, right? And that's when they passed the amendment saying it had to go in January. And now, I almost hate to change things because we had one asshole who ruined everything. I think everybody else would be able to handle this. And once we get rid of this asshole, I think everything will be okay. But yeah.
So you think we can handle one of these every 250 years?
Yeah.
See, but
maybe.
here's the problem. How many times in the last few years have we had the once in 1,000-year storm, the once in 1,000-year hurricane? We've had about 8 of them.
Yeah.
And so we might have not another 250 years before we have another Trump.
It's hard to imagine.
Think of what I just said there.
That's breathtaking.
It's horrible. Worst thing. We'll cut that out of the tape too.
New York Times, the vitriolic reaction came swiftly after Governor Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan announcing on Sunday evening she was ordering the shutdown of some businesses and halting in-person learning at high schools and colleges in her state for 3 weeks to combat a rapid increase in coronavirus. Center stage left Scott Atlas, the so-called doctor on President Trump's coronavirus team.
Before you finish reading it, I would never have predicted it would happen this quickly.
It did.
That Atlas would turn into a guy who nobody knew his name, into he's been secretly been the person that Trump has been listening to for the last few months.
Yeah.
Into out and out political hack.
Oh my God.
And medical quack at the same time, attack dog. But that's quite a transformation for a guy who was just some research guy out at Stanford. You may continue.
He tweeted on Sunday night, the only way this stops if people rise up, you get what you accept.
Rise up, right?
Yeah. Rise up. Miss Whitmer said the statement left her breathless. It's just incredibly reckless considering everything that has happened, Gretchen Whitmer told reporters Monday morning, including an alleged right-wing terrorist plot against her. You remember when this terrorist plot happened, I remember some of the pushback on this was, the boys were only talking about a house arrest of her. That literally was the pushback, and the other bite at the apple after the fact of, They got a little out of hand, those militia guys, but they were only talking about a house arrest of her.
But since then, we've learned they were going to burn down the entire state capitol. They were going to behead her 1/4 of an inch at a time over a 2-day period to elongate it out. I mean, they were going to try to do the goriest thing ever, and here we are, 2 months later, and Scott Atlas is. By the way, what a perfect name for a prick.
He is.
Just a perfect name.
It's got the Ayn Rand shit involved with it. It's Atlas Shrugged. It's all that stuff wrapped into one seamless ball of shit with Dr. Scott Atlas. Yeah. So yeah, that happened, and he's become an absolute prick and all that stuff. And yeah, I'm very. I don't know.
But you've probably seen this the last few days that the Trump is so sensitive, so snowflakey, so you can't tiptoe even within 100 yards of him and say the wrong thing, or he pulls out the Luger and blows your head off and your career is done and you'll never be heard from again because he'll send out a tweet. And by the way, did all these companies that Trump tweeted about over the last 4 years, did any of them ever get hurt from any of his tweets? Not from what I can tell.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Okay, but we'll just put that. We'll just put that aside for a second.
Speaking of doctors, I did want to talk about this one because this was a story that's happened since last we met. Senator Rand Paul, this happened on Thursday, calling for those who have recovered from COVID-19 to throw away their masks, go to restaurants, and live again. As the coronavirus surges,
would you please use the phrase "quack doctors"?
Would you like to tell the audience if they don't know where Rand Paul went to medical school?
We went to Duke.
That's exactly right.
But
who writes?
That's not the point.
That is the point.
He's not a board certified practicing.
Well, he created his own board, Brad. So yes, he is board certified by his own board. I just created a bar that certified me as a lawyer in this state, pal. Okay, so I am a lawyer by the board that I created. By the that I created. Rand Paul went to Duke University. Stephen Miller went to Duke University. It's a terrible place. It's an awful place full of toxic males who are ruining this country.
Do we judge a place by its worst examples?
Well,
because then you have to say, well, USC graduated O.J.
Simpson. That's right.
So therefore, everyone who goes to USC,
I'm okay with it.
Is a bum.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but I've got two examples of awful people, and they're destroying America, ladies and gentlemen. Stephen Miller has been dreadful since day one. He's been the architect of a lot of awful things, including locking kids in cages. I mean, that was partially him, and a lot of the speeches.
What I was going to say before is with you being unable to get within 100 feet of Trump, and say the wrong thing, or it takes your head off, and your life is over, and you'll never work in this town again. Not that any of these people are ever going to work in this town again.
I hope not.
And now they're victims of cancel culture. And stop that and the rest. But apparently, if you're caught even thinking, because apparently they can reach into your mind and know what you're thinking, if you're even thinking about what you're going to do after January 20th, then you're against Trump. You're being disloyal. You're supposed to play the game.
Follow him down.
The Mike Pompeo game. We're preparing for a peaceful transition to the next Trump administration. All right. So did you ever get caught applying for a job or doing something stupid when you were working in radio? I did it once. I once left my resume on the Xerox
copy or something.
Copy machine. I did. I actually did it. Now it was my first job, and it didn't matter. And it was 3 a.m, and I went home and I thought of it. I drove back, and it was still there. It was still there.
You didn't get caught.
So I don't think I got caught. And
nice.
It didn't destroy. Well, actually, it did ruin my. No. that was 38 years later. That couldn't have anything to do with that. So
let me take you back 3 weeks to another great Rand Paul idea. I don't believe we discussed it on the show. Some people may have heard of this. Senator Rand Paul said he would like restaurants to hire more staff that had previously contracted the coronavirus. This was a Daily Beast report. During a rally for Nick Freitas, a Republican candidate for Congress in Central Virginia on Sunday, this has been 3 weeks ago again, Paul suggested to a crowd he would make the call himself if he had a restaurant. Well, let me just say on behalf of restaurant owners and consumers of food across America, thank God you don't. If I owned a restaurant, I'd have a whole wing for senior citizens or for anybody who is worried about getting sick. Brad, this sounds like the old no smoking section, doesn't it? And I would say all my servers already have had it, Paul told the crowd, according to the Daily Beast. If I had a cruise ship, everybody would have had the infection that works on a boat. This man went to medical school at Duke University, Brad, and he's a senator in the United States Senate from the great Commonwealth of Kentucky.
Well, and you're not a doctor. I'm not a doctor. He's barely one. But one thing I think we can say is true is that no one is sure. No one knows what your level of immunity is, or whether you are 100% safe from being a carrier beyond the first couple days or the first couple weeks that you've had it. We don't quite have all the information on that, and that was from 3 weeks ago. Today we have really the most famous person in the world who have contracted coronavirus. That would be Prime Minister Boris Johnson.
That's right.
Of Britain, who is now back into quarantine because he was in contact with a member of parliament.
That's right.
Tested positive. Now, you know what that is? That's called out of an abundance of caution. You know what Rand Paul is called? An idiot. out of an abundance of recklessness, he wants people who've had the virus or have it or are thinking about getting it to serve a special section of diners in a restaurant. See, this kind of stuff sets you back so much, doesn't it?
It does.
Because it doesn't matter that this isn't really going to happen. And the reality, I think is it North Dakota or South Dakota? It's a Dakota where they're saying that people who have tested positive or may actually have it right now can come back to work in some of the hospitals. They're that desperate. And I can almost understand that because of manpower problems. And I guess if you're working around patients and you have it yourself, but you don't have symptoms, I guess that's okay compared to having no one there at all. I mean, I don't have an answer to that, but that's a whole different game than Rand Paul is playing.
Well, let me take your sad story from Brunswick County and top you. Apparently there was an interview on CNN today. There's an ER nurse from South Dakota who said that there are people who are dying of coronavirus who spent their last dying breaths denying that it was real. It's a true story. This was on CNN today, and it's an actual South Dakota ER nurse, and her name is Jody Doring. And she says that there are people who are dying of COVID-19 in South Dakota hospitals who will, to their very dying breath, deny that it's true. To me, that's absolutely, I mean, I don't know where we go. I mean, that seems like the end of humanity, doesn't it?
Well, if you would have talked to the people in Jonestown, Guyana, who drank the Kool-Aid, literally drank the Kool-Aid, the definition of drinking.
It didn't kill me.
Right. This is delicious Kool-Aid. And if Jim Jones tells me to drink the Kool-Aid, even as I'm laying there with my body gyrating and my organs shutting down, I'm sure that many of them would say, well, it's not Jim Jones's fault. The Kool-Aid had nothing to do with it. It's just a little bit hot today. I've got heat stroke. So I think that story is illustrative of a cult of a kind of thinking that really sets up this country for trouble down the line. Because even if I threaten to kill you, I don't know.
And by the way,
I have no words for that one.
As I've been pounding on Duke University, the one Duke guy that I can remember that worked for Obama was Reggie Love, the former basketball player who was, of course, Barack Obama's body man. And he would give.
So Duke did have at least one graduate.
I would say the guy that gave Barack Obama the hand sanitizer was much better for America than Stephen Miller or Rand Paul, and did way less damage to the country than those two people.
That's still down one, though. Okay? bad guys are leading 2-1, and we're not even through the first quarter.
They've done some very, very bad shit. That is for certain.
Yeah.
So we're starting to get more and more. A few Republicans who will speak out, and they say that this digging in your heels to avoid the transition is not good for national security. I think Mike DeWine, the governor of Ohio, has been talking about this, and there have been some other people as well. Yeah. But again, the Republican Party seems to be really kind of mostly muzzled about this whole situation, right?
No, and every Republican that's an office holder that says anything uses deflective language. They don't say that the reason that this is occurring, that I even have to speak about this, is because Donald Trump is a destructive dictator wannabe who wants to stay in office to avoid prosecution for crimes that he committed. And he's a grifter, and his family are a bunch of thieves. And he is the most dishonest, worst president we have ever had. It isn't just, this is not good for the country, and I wish he was behaving a little bit different. I'm very concerned about. He's a
non-traditional. He's a non-traditional politician. Yeah. He's just not going to conform. You know, they're not doing that shit anymore.
Right, and it's not good enough.
Yeah,
it's just not good enough. And I mean, I saw DeWine talk.
Yeah,
and at the same time, almost everyone to a T always ends it with, but he has every right to pursue all the legal remedies that he believes could change the outcome. They throw that bone, so it doesn't count. No, he doesn't have the right to do this. He does not have the right to file frivolous lawsuits. There is a part of the lawyer's code, all right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's called Section 11. Lawyers watching or listening will know this. And you are obligated, before you file any kind of a lawsuit, to have done the due diligence to actually believe that there is some merit to what you are arguing. And we know that these lawyers around the country, especially some of the ones who have worked for prestigious firms, they had the one in Ohio, and the Jones Day, it's a famous law firm, and they've all decided they're going to quit the case because the judges all around the country, in Arizona, in Wisconsin, in Michigan, in Pennsylvania, have looked at the zero evidence that these people are presenting. They have laughed them out of court in record time.
Right.
No, and that's because the judges, who are lawyers, they see there is no evidence, none, zip, nada. And these lawyers should be sanctioned by the bar. They have violated the first rule of legal representation in a case like this. If you're the plaintiff, you cannot just walk into court and say, I want to sue Britt Whitmire. I don't like his hat.
No, you can't do it.
What evidence do you have? Well, I just don't like it.
Right.
Get out of here. Just get out of here.
Lawyers and ethics, you're cute.
That's very cute. To be fair, I really don't like your hat.
No, I don't blame you.
That's still not gonna get it done for me.
No. Other things that we can kind of talk about as we head out here. I've just got this breaking news. Military commanders anticipate that Trump will formally order more withdrawals from Afghanistan and Iraq as soon as this week. This comes as news today that apparently the administration is going to allow the oil companies to take their pick of what they want to drill for in Alaska. I don't know if you saw that story as well. They've just basically said, whatever you want, go.
All right. So guess what? That's going to last about
until January 21st. Exactly.
Right. And oil companies, they're not like restaurants or car dealers. You want a car? Yeah, we'll have one to your house. Carvana will have it delivered by 5 o'clock. You're an oil company. You're not going to be drilling tomorrow, no matter what they do. And so this is a guy who thinks he can change all the rules at the last minute. And you can see the setup here for all the pardons is unbelievable, because he's doing all these crazy things the last few weeks that he's in office. Again, he should have been kicked to the curb on November 4th with his shit in a cardboard box out on Constitution Avenue.
It would have been real nice.
Couldn't do any more damage, but that's not the way things work around here. So any of these things that he thinks he can do, and change the country any more than he has. They're not going to stand up because they're all executive orders and they're not laws and the rest of it. I did see, however, in the midst of all this, they are still approving judges.
Yeah.
One after another right now, because that's the only thing that matters. When you're trying to form a minority government, a white minority government that's autocratic and dictatorial and does not adhere to democratic principles, one of the main things you need to do is tilt and pollute and pervert the judicial system. And that's what Trump and Mitch McConnell in particular have been doing for the last, 4 years. And that's why what happens in Georgia is so important, because if the Democrats grab those 2 seats and therefore control of the Senate, Joe Biden will be able to start appointing reasonable judges, non-right-wing, unqualified hack judges, and start the process of keeping the judiciary from completely becoming a right-wing rubber stamp cabal.
Sewer.
The right-wing sewer. That's talk radio, Britt.
Oh, sorry. I didn't.
Right-wing sewer
the courts are also turning into that, I think.
Right. And the ironic thing is here, apparently, Trump can't seem to find a judge anywhere that's so hacky, that's so bad, that they will do what I thought they were trying to do last week and the week before, which is find at least one judge so corrupt that they will rule on one of these cases where there is no evidence, where there's nothing there, there's no there, and say, well, yeah, you that thing about not allowing the observers 6 feet closer to the vote, that sounds good to me. Don't certify the vote. And he would have to find that in Pennsylvania plus 2 states.
Yep, forget it.
Because even if he got Georgia, Wisconsin, and Arizona, that wouldn't be enough. He'd fall one short, and that's not going to happen.
No.
So that's the importance of what's going to happen in Georgia here, because 8 years in a row of Republican control of the Senate like that. Actually, it's 10, right? Because the last 2 years of Obama's presidency,
right?
Mitch McConnell was the majority leader, right? Before that, it was Harry Reid, the Democrat. And if that happens, if they get 10 straight years of appointing judges, well, you can figure out how many, in terms of percentage, are going to be of that ilk. All Federalist Society, right-wing hacks like Justice Samuel Alito, who made a political speech that should have been, he should have sat in for the Mark Levin show on Fox. It was such a hack speech the other day, which didn't get that much attention because, again, there's a lot of other things going on, but it really should. I mean, he's the worst. He may be worse than Clarence Thomas. I'm not sure.
He's pretty bad.
He may be worse than Clarence Thomas.
Now, a couple of pieces of business. We did get some notification from one of the podcasting rating services. Apparently, we're very popular in New Zealand. We've charted in New Zealand. So hello to New Zealand. Just wanted to say hi to all of our friends in New Zealand.
I would love to go there. Wouldn't you? Would that be a great place to go?
My parents have been there and loved it. They thought it was absolutely beautiful. It was fantastic. So, and the other recommendation I have for you on podcasting is the Al Franken Show with Stuart Stevens, who ran several campaigns, I think, including most recently was the Mitt Romney thing. And he has written.
Stuart Stevens was that character he played on Saturday Night Live. I'm good enough. I'm smart enough. And
Stuart,
people like
that was Stuart Smalley. Very funny. Stuart Stevens, and I think Stuart Stevens most appropriately was somewhat directly responsible for that Clint Eastwood fiasco at the Republican National Convention in 2012 in Tampa. Stuart Stevens has written a book basically with a mea culpa saying we were completely wrong about everything that I ever tried to do in the Republican Party. We were completely full of shit. Donald Trump is awful. I do not consider myself a Republican anymore. I have abandoned the ghost. He feels what is going to happen is that they're going to continue on this path, the Republican Party will, of complete fealty and loyalty to Donald Trump, and that another party that has conservatives in it that have a brain will emerge as a real contender at some point in time. He doesn't know if that's going to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, but that is his prediction.
Does it matter? The damage that's being done right now,
right,
is so profound, and I would equate it, and this will be pretty hysterical, so you'll enjoy it. Think of the damage that was done beginning in 1860.
Oh God.
When how many Confederate states were there? 10, 12?
I think 13 maybe. Whatever's on that stupid flag.
Whatever on the flag. When they said, we do not accept the outcome of the election, Abraham Lincoln, not our president, we're out of here. I would submit to you that here we are, 160 some years later, and the damage is still being done. And there are still people flying that flag beginning in 1960, not literally that, it was a Confederate battle flag. That wasn't the flag.
It was the Dukes of Hazzard. It was the General Lee. Right. Shut up.
Right. And so Stuart Stevens may be right, but none of us are going to be here to see any kind of change like that, because I think some things have been set in motion that will continue in motion. I don't know. There
are 13 stars on that flag, so I commend myself on knowing my bullshit Confederate history. I'm very happy about that. I'm a real slave to heritage.
Not knowing Confederate history, just knowing how many stars that were.
Well, they represent the states. That's why there's 13 stars.
How many people are on a basketball court at the same time?
Well, it's 10, 5 from each team.
Okay, so you know your basketball. Shut up.
I'm Red Auerbach.
No, you're Red Klotz.
Even better. Goodbye, everybody.